Hello. I will wait for people to get here and see that this is live. I'm going to try to stay hydrated during this stream too, because I have a tendency to not drink as much water as I should while live streaming, and then I leave the live stream parched and with a headache. So we don't love to see it. It's bad. There's always a slight lag on the chat too, so if you guys are talking to me, I probably won't see it for a minute until it decides to show me. Hi, Paco. Okay, now it's showing that there's people. Good. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to myself, which I could totally do. There's Tally. Oh, hi. See, there goes all of the hellos. Hello. So, hi, Anne. Hi, Crimson Daisy. Hi, Alicia, Angelica, Ray, Amanda, Ainsley. Hello. As soon as I close the door, Tally's like, well, why am I not allowed in? You are, baby. You are allowed in. She can't choose to do that before I get all situated. Okay. Hi, Freya. All right. I am doing well. Look at her, assuming the position. This is where she is, almost every live stream. I've had a good day today. Yeah, it's been very chill. I filmed some videos for my other channel, so more of the woo-woo videos, since that's what I'm into right now. So those will be going up in the next couple of weeks, which is nice. I filmed 3, which is not what I usually do, so good for me. Hi, Rose. Hi, Soli. Christina, Ray, Emma. Started playing Mass Effect, and I'm now obsessed. Tally is amazing. Yes. Mass Effect is so good. For those of you that don't know, Tally, my dog, is named after a character in Mass Effect named Tally, who is a very sweet bean, and she, the alien race she's a part of, don't have a home at, it's part one of their themes, one of their struggles. So I thought it was a really good name for a stray doggy. A stray rescue doggy. Huh. So, actually, I don't need this earbud in, so I can just take that out. Well, I don't know. It feels weird to do that. Hello. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Beverly. You should watch She-Ra. It's so good. I've talked about this before. I'm really bad about, well, one, I'm really bad about TV these days. I just don't have the attention span, I guess. And two, I don't watch a lot of cartoons. I know people love them. I've watched 5 episodes of Avatar, The Last Airbender. But I just can't, I want to get more into Avatar. I really, the first thing I'm going to watch if I watch any more TV at any point soon is going to be Avatar, because I need to just continue. I've seen so many scenes of it. I know so many things about it. I just need to watch the whole show. So yeah, I know that She-Ra would be good and I probably like it, but I'm really bad about watching TV. So bad. I'm so bad about watching cartoons and stuff. Are you planning on giving Curse on Netflix a try? People have been kind of talking about it, but I've heard mixed things from my friend also named Sam, who loves Arthurian legend. She hates it. But I've also seen some people be like, hey, it's not bad. Again, I have so many shows that I've needed to watch for literally years that I probably won't watch that anytime soon, because I haven't even seen really a trailer for it. I feel honestly, the only things that I have a high probability of watching these days are Avatar, and then when the second season of The Umbrella Academy comes out, which is one of the few shows that I've actually sat down and binge watched in the last couple of years. They are my trash children. I know it has a lot of issues, but I still watch it. So yeah. And then someone asked about Old Guard too. I've heard good things about Old Guard. Sarah Jane really liked it. I think that's just a movie, right? So there's a slightly better chance that I could watch that because it wouldn't take a lot of commitment. But I haven't even watched Hamilton on Disney since it came out. I planned to, and then I just haven't. My mom and I plan on watching it, and she keeps being like, we need to watch that. And I'm like, I know. I just haven't. So Did you ever manage to cut your own hair, or did you discard the idea? I did cut it myself. So I've cut the back, like the short bits, like 3 different times now. I got like a buzz razor thing, and then I have cut this up. So I'll probably just keep doing that forever. I'll probably get a haircut, like an actual haircut, like once a year, just to like maintain the shape and have them like professionally shape it up. But then I can just like trim it myself. So that's my plan. So that's one thing that this whole thing has taught me, is how to do some things myself that I never would have even attempted because I didn't have to. And now that I had to, I did, you know? Did you participate in the reading rush? I did not. I haven't participated in the reading rush since it was Booktubeathon back in the day. And it's so funny because Booktubeathon is what I, like, why I joined Booktube. Well, not why, but like I joined around Booktubeathon because of everything that was going on that was like really easy content, like everyone was talking about it, blah, blah, blah. So I think I participated like the first 2 years that I was on Booktube, and then I haven't participated since it turned into the reading rush. And I don't love the challenges they do, like every time. I know a lot of people bitch about them, so I'm not gonna like beat a dead horse, but like I don't like challenges that like I was just watching a video of Mari actually did like a reading rush vlog, and she said in her video the same way I feel, where she's like, I don't like challenges for readathons that tell me like how to read my book. Like, you know, like read it outside, read it only at night, read, you know, just like weird um qualifications for things. Like I don't like that. I like reading prompts that like challenge you to pick something maybe a little bit out of your wheelhouse, or like, you know, it's kind of like the prompts that I do for Tome Topple. Are they super complicated? No, but the point of them is to like have things that are going to like help you, and that most people have available to them, and that like aren't about how you read it and stuff like that. So that's just like my thing. Again, I know plenty of people participate, but like also my general feed and like timeline doesn't really talk about the reading rush. Like I don't really follow a ton of people that do it. So like I always forget it's happening because I don't follow like anyone that participates in it really. I think I follow like maybe 2 people that have participated. So I haven't seen it being talked about like on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, there's so many readathons now that like when Booktubeathon was a thing, I feel like it was one of the only readathons. And now there's like so many each month, including my own, that I'm just like, I don't have time for this, you know? And also I'm really bad about reading in the summer. I mean, like it's been better this year, but it's still less than have been reading the last few months. Like spring is a really good reading time for me. And I just read less. Like, so even though I'm still reading a lot of books for like most people, because I'm going to start my job next week, but I hadn't been working, you know, like I have plenty of time, but I just haven't felt like super motivated. So doing a readathon on top of that, like July and August are not good reading months for me. Did I decide to do my own readathon in August? With all that being said, yes. But I like to do them seasonally, and that's just what I decided. So yeah, long answer for that one. What's the next book for House Salt Book Club? The one for this month is A Cotta Witch by Nydia Corafor. We haven't announced the book for next month, but we are going to be doing a live show, I think next weekend. We haven't quite nailed that down, I think. I think it's going to be next weekend. We've had a lot of like scheduling issues because 2 of us started getting like new jobs, and it's just been like, so we're, I think, doing that. But yeah, A Cotta Witch by Nydia Corafor is the next one up. Do you know which species Tally is? I did get her a like DNA test, but it's completely wrong because it says that there's some breeds in there that like I don't even see. So I say that she's a spaniel mix. She definitely has a lot of spaniel traits, a spaniel look. When I got her, they said she was a Cavalier King Charles mix, and she definitely has that like in her, I'm sure. But Cavaliers have longer ears, have more of like not a squish face like some dogs, but they have a more of like a stout little muzzle and stuff, and she has a longer muzzle. She's so stinking cute. But she definitely has like she just sighed. She definitely has like the spaniel like feathery hair and like all that stuff, and she dries off really easy. She does a lot of maneuvers that are like hunting type maneuvers. So she's definitely that like kind of working dog. Are you planning on reading the Umbrella Academy comics? I'm not. I'm totally fine with keeping it to the show. I also don't like love the art style of the comics. And the show is problematic enough. So like I don't plan to participate in the comics. I mean, I hear people like them, but like I just I don't think I want to do that. And have so many other comics that I need to read that aren't shows. If you have Disney Plus, you should watch The Mandalorian. I have, and Baby Yoda is an endorphin overload. Yeah, that's the last show that I watched completely. At like the beginning of quarantine, like I watched The Witcher, and then like right after I watched The Mandalorian, like I was chock full of grumpy dad like characters. It was great. That show is great. I love it so much. I love Baby Yoda so much. I love The Mandalorian so much. Like what a man. I just, yeah, I adore it, and it really soothed my Star Wars soul because I hated the last Star Wars movie. Hated it so much for so many reasons that I've talked about at length. So I just needed like good Star Wars content that like made sense, and I loved that it was like not really involved with like the main series and was like a space western. Like that was so good. It's what I needed at that time in my life. Thoughts on Folklore, so the Taylor Swift album. I tweeted about it like very briefly that when she announced it, like just dropped it on everybody. That I'm not like a huge, like I wouldn't call myself like a Swiftie or like a Taylor Swift fan. I've like her songs are catchy. I like her as a person and like respect her. I mean, as a person, like I know her, but like I've never been someone that's like anti her. I'm just very kind of like, yeah, like some of her songs are good. I really liked 1989 like a lot. Like that's one of the albums I actually listened to a lot. But then the ones since then I haven't. Like I've liked a couple of songs that I wouldn't consider like favorite songs of all time. But when I saw Folklore, I was like, this looks like Cottagecore and like The Forest. And you guys know how I feel about that. So I have listened to it. My favorite songs are This Is Me Trying. I was listening to like on repeat last night. And then is it Exile? Come on. I think it's Exile. Is it Exile? Yes. Those are the two I like a lot. But I haven't sat down and like listened like to the lyrics and like what's being said. Those are just the ones I like the sound of. And I think I listened to the whole thing, but I mostly just like put it on and like didn't really like check what each song was, like I was doing other stuff in the background. So but those are the ones like the vibe I love the most. Also, I saw someone do like kind of looking into some of the lyrics, and it sounds like some of the lyrics are very gay. So people are saying congrats on the new job. Thank you. Does having a job in your current location mean you'd be living with your parents for longer than you had planned? So funny. I've already been living with my parents longer than I've planned, number one. But number two, my job isn't actually in my area. It's in like the Chicago western suburbs, which is where I've always planned to move anyway. When I moved back, I always was like, I'm going to live in Chicago or the western suburbs. So I am going to be staying with my parents slightly longer because it's all telehealth. So I'm now like officially a full-time therapist, which is something that I've always kind of done as part of my jobs before, but now like that's what I do, which is cool. And they're closed, like their offices are closed. It's only telehealth appointments. It's all like through like Zoom or whatever. So I can do that, and it's pretty convenient actually because you have to build up a caseload like as people like need you and want you and whatever. So I have to get up to full time. Full time is like 20 to 25 clients. You can see more than that. And that would be considered a full time caseload. And that's when I could like afford to move and like get my own place. So I have to wait for that to happen. And then I'll probably wait and make sure that those like clients all stick and that like we're all a good fit for like a month or so and then move. So it's nice though, because in any other normal circumstance, I would be commuting into that office, which is like an hour and a half away from my parents' house. And that would suck. So I don't have to do that. And I probably won't for a long time. Like even though like my state is pretty open, although our cases are skyrocketing like everybody else's, they're not opening. They're like, we're going to wait until like it's fully safe to open. Like we don't have any reason to open. We're fine to do telehealth. Like it's cool. So I've set up a little like mini office sort of. So now my booktube area will double as like my office. So lower on my bookshelf now I have like my therapy stuff. And yeah, so long story short, I will be staying here longer. But it's good. It's necessary. It'll make things easier than like, being in my own apartment, like scrambling if I don't get clients quickly, which I think that I will. I'm already starting. I start Thursday, and I already have like I think 2 or 3, and then someone else is leaving, so I'm getting some of her clients, and she hasn't been there very long, so I won't have to like worry about, they already have this relationship with this therapist and whatever. So yeah, I'm hoping within the next few months, like I'm hoping like fall, but I don't know. I've kind of just like, with everything planning wise at this point, I've just kind of like given up. Like, not given up in like a depressing way, but just kind of like, I have no way to predict anything anymore. It's very hard to plan. Like I've done some research into some apartments in that area, so I kind of know like the price that I would need to look for, and like I don't need to rush out of here. And I would ideally like to move when we're still telecommuting, and not have to do it when like I have to commute into an office. So I can just kind of like, it would be really so easy to move, get everything settled, and still be like telecommuting. So that is a plan, but I think it's all good things. It's just, the timeline for everything is just so different than I thought it was going to be. I live for your Instagram story shaming your pets. Thanks. I feel like I haven't done them lately because I feel like they haven't done things as shameful lately here. Tally's done it a couple of times, but do you have any juicy Witchlands theories? The Witchlands series by Susan Dennard. I don't see. I'm not a big like theorizer. I should get a pillow behind my back before I hurt myself. Oh, sorry, you weren't even using it. You weren't using it. I'm leaning on like the wooden part of my bed frame. I'm not someone that theorizes a super ton about any fandom I'm a part of. The thing is like, I don't theorize, but then when something happens, I can tell you that like, yes, that feels correct, or no, that doesn't feel correct. But like, I don't really theorize things that will happen a ton. I have some ideas about like ship related things that will happen, but I don't really want to talk about them because it could be like spoilers for people. But I love the dynamics there with a lot of those things. But like, yeah, I don't theorize a ton about plot, and I feel like it helps me out because I'm less likely to be disappointed in something if I'm not theorizing about it. Have you heard of Morning Glories? I have. That was very popular at like the beginning of when I got on BookTube. I feel like some people are reading it. I'm trying to remember like, yes, I can see the art. I can like see the art. Yeah, it looks really cool. But no one's talked about it in a really long time. Taylor Swift loving a girl and swearing in Betty, it's what we deserve. Yeah, like that was one of the songs that people were like, this is gay, And there's always been like suspicions. I mean, she'd be bi or pan or something, When I say gay, I don't mean like gay. I use gay as an umbrella term, like most of the gays do. So like, I feel like we all do that for the most part. I'm not someone that uses queer a ton. Although like if somebody says like prefers queer, it's never like rolled off the tongue for me. So yeah, when I say gay, I mean like the entire LGBTQ plus umbrella. So yeah, but I read some of the lyrics that someone was posting in the TikTok, and I was like, that is very gay. So I think I listened to that song. I think I've gotten to it. What are your thoughts on fairy tales? I just read the Brothers Grimm ones and did not enjoy. Well, the Brothers Grimm ones are like very traditional and like pretty like misogynist and stuff. Fairy tales are so funny because they go through like, they're always, she's gonna want to get out, and I'm so annoyed with her. No, Tally, baby, the people want to see you and your cute face. No. Anyway, fairy tales always have like, they're always a part of our like culture, but they go through like ebbs and flows and stuff with like retellings and stuff. I don't read a lot of the traditional fairy tales. Like I know them. What's so funny is like fairy tales are such a part of our like cultural ethos that like stuff about them without necessarily having read them. Like not even just the Disney versions. I mean, like I know like Cinderella and like chopping their feet and like all of that. Like I know those, some of the really dark stuff in the Grimm fairy tales, but I don't read them because I'm just like, I don't have any desire to. And then as far as retellings, like they had that huge resurgence in like 2012, 2013, especially in YA. And now whenever I see a fairy tale retelling, I'm kind of like, I'm just burnt out on it, but I really like, as I really like Eastern European and like Slavic folklore and like retellings and stuff. But as far as our like typical Grimm fairy tale Western stuff, I mean, I say that. And then like, if I see something that like compares itself to Beauty and the Beast, I'm like, I guess, like there's a few that still get me from the Grimms, but I think Beauty and the Beast is like the only one. Yeah, good girl, sit back down. Because I'm not really drawn to like Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Rapunzel, Little Mermaid, like any of those. Just watch your stories where you talk about forgetting that the real world doesn't like fantasy, sci-fi, and romance. I can relate because I always forget too. Yeah, like, so for those that didn't see my Instagram stories, you should follow me because I post life updates there. But I did like a virtual, well, it wasn't a completely virtual book club. So that's the thing. A lot of them met up in person, but it was a place that's like an hour for me. And I was like, I don't want to meet up in person quite yet. I want to see where the cases go with our area. They were meeting up outside. Like, I think some people were wearing masks, but some weren't, and they were like mostly distance, but it was just like, I just want to see. So they had a Zoom link. I was the only one that joined in Zoom. But yeah, they were like, what genres do we all read? And I said my, like, I was like, I read mostly like sci-fi and fantasy and also some romance. Like I got into romance like last year. I was going through like a rough patch and, decided to read that because it's more like easy to read and stuff. Because they were talking about how it's been hard for them to read and stuff, like everybody. And it was just like silent. And I was like, oh, like none of those appeal to any of you? Okay. And then like it was just like no shade against really popular like genres and stuff. But whenever I go to like a book club in like the real world that is just like a general book club, it always doesn't work for me because people are like, like, let's read Jodi Picoult and these like thrillers that are like really popular, like The Girl on the Train and The Girl in the Window and, David Baldacci and Clancy and like just all these people that are like, yes, I know that they're like well loved. I'm not saying that they're bad books even. I just have like no interest. And like they were talking about Haruki Murakami, like one of the girls was. Which I'm familiar with because I sometimes like I dip my toes sometimes into like literary fiction booktube and I listen to them talk and be eloquent and so smart and like watch all of their like award-winning books and stuff and like that's cool, but like I do not interested in those books like at all. So I'm like, okay, like I could at least sort of engage with you because I kind of know these books, but like you can't engage with me at all because like you have no concept of any of the authors I'm going to talk about. And that's not like in a judgmental like way. I'm just like, how am I supposed to do this when like you're looking at me like I just read Lord of the Rings or something, like people have this idea of what these genres are. I feel like so many people that haven't read them, like sci-fi to people is like Star Wars and Star Trek, and fantasy is like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and romance is like Bodice Rippers or like 50 Shades of Grey. And I'm like, it's not, and they didn't say that, but that's like always like the implication. Like whenever I've talked to somebody that's like a normie out in the world about it, and they've just been kind of like, oh, I'm not like into that. And I'm like, but you haven't, but like a lot of it is very literary and like it is very good. I'm not stupid, like I gotta get that like feeling where they're like, oh, you're dumb. And I'm like, I'm not. Like, so like, yeah, it's just weird. But like, I mean, I don't like complain about it. I mean, it's not a complaint because it's like, I have this great community here. Those genres are very well loved online. I'm not like a victim, you know what I mean? But it's just like, I want to have some book friends in real life and it's hard. So yeah, but I'm going to keep going to that because mostly on like Zoom or like if they do something, they're talking about doing something like out in the park we could all be more spread out and like wear masks. And I'm like, cool. I would be down for that. Cause at this point I'm kind of getting to the point where like, I'm still doing everything that you're supposed to do with the pandemic, but I'm also like, I'm pretty convinced that we're going to be doing this for like another year in the United States, if not more. And like, there has to be adjustments made and like risk like weighed to do some stuff. Like, I'm not going to go to bars. I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm not going to do that. But like, since I have zero social life, like not even that, it's like, oh, I can't see my friends. It's like, I haven't made any friends here again. Like, I have my friends that have stayed around and like whatever, but like, I haven't gotten to like reconnect with them. I'm not dating. I'm doing nothing. And especially somebody that, you know, almost died once, like from a disease. I know that like life is short and I don't want to feel like I'm wasting it by like not doing anything. So while I'm still going to like wear my mask, social distance from people, not do anything dangerous, not go to bars, not go to concerts, not go to movie theaters, you know, whatever, like none of that. Going to like a meetup outside where people are distancing is something that I'm like open to doing, because it's just like, we're in this for the long haul, man. Like that, the dreams I had of this being over by like end of the summer when this all started, I'm like, nah. So kind of have to make those adjustments to like do things that are going to greatly improve your mental health with minimal risk. Is kind of where I am with that. And everyone has their own ideas about that. Wow, I just go on like tangents, just like complete tangents. But yeah, I'm going to continue to try to see if there's some people in that group that I could get along with. I went into an old indie bookshop once and the shopkeeper asked what I liked to read. I told him fantasy and he laughed awkwardly and said he didn't have any and walked off. See, like, I just don't, I don't understand that concept, because like I would never do that to someone that does read like thrillers and like popular bestsellers. Like, it's not my jam, but I'm not going to be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying those people like don't read, you know what I mean? But I feel like there's this like misconception that if you read fantasy or sci-fi or romance that you like are a weirdo, you know, in like the real world. Like people are like they think that you have like walls of dusty mass market paperbacks from like Star Trek spin-offs. And you might, like that might be your thing, but like generally speaking, that's not what people's thing is. So I'm just like, why do you hate me? Like, it's just like, I hate that. I hate that like snobbery that you mostly encounter in those spaces, because I really don't feel like that's an opinion that people have like online. Like, I think we all kind of know, like in fandom spaces, that like things are varied or whatever. But in like real settings, it's a little bit more like all the fucking book clubs on Meetup and stuff are like, there was a book club that I joined in Delaware that was like a sci-fi fantasy book club. It was cool. But I'd only went a few times before I moved. So all of them are like thrillers. And I'm like, I get that these are really popular, but like I have no interest. Uh. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of just like thrillers or like whatever the big literary fiction is at the moment. Like one of the girls was mentioning like the Where the Crawdads Sing like book. And a couple of the, like whatever's an Oprah book club pick, you know? And I'm like, I get that these are popular. I'm not saying they're bad. I just don't, we are not the same, you know? This is super hypothetical, but how do you think you would handle a subscriber being a client of yours? So as far as social work values, that would kind of, I think, be considered what we call a dual relationship. And I wouldn't be able to do that. So I am actually thinking slightly about doing something for the book community that's like not quite life coaching, but like I've done some like Skype calls with people about like unhauling and like organization and like some of the mental ties people have to their stuff. That's not therapy, you know, that's more like coaching. I'm very open to that with people that subscribe to me. But it wouldn't be appropriate for me to be someone's therapist that subscribes to me, because they would know too much about me personally. Like you can't be friends with your clients. You can't go to like the social events of your clients. Gets a little murky in like small towns, which I don't live in a small town, but like in small towns where people are like, hey, I do know my therapist because they're my like cousin's ex-wife's sister. Like, that's a thing that happens that they have to navigate a little bit differently. But like in my case, I wouldn't have to do that. So there is that kind of like, oh, if someone finds my channel, but that'd be something to talk about. But like someone who comes to me because they were a subscriber, like it wouldn't be okay because you know too much. And then there's like all of this, it's called transference. So like people, and then like the parasocial relationships, I'm using all this jargon, but like it would just not be appropriate. Like it would be a boundary thing, because you're really not supposed to know things like personal things about your therapist. There's a certain level of self-disclosure that therapists can do to help therapeutically, but that self-disclosure helps the client and not you as a therapist. Where like I self-disclose to like sort of get to know you guys. That's not what you're really doing in therapy when you self-disclose about like I went through something similar, and you give like the smallest tidbits. Like a client that was a subscriber would know too much about me, so couldn't do that. That would be a bad ethical gray area. If we're talking forest witchy music vibes, I gotta recommend Tales of the Night Forest. That sounds great. That's the thing about folklore is I liked it, or I like it, but like there is a certain witchy vibe that it doesn't quite have. It doesn't really feel quite like the forest to me. Like the feeling that I get from the forest is not. Let's see, Tales of the Night Forest. I'm going to add that so I listen to it. Like, I'm trying to think of a, ooh, look at that. That's like album cover. Can you see it? Nice. There's just a certain vibe. I'm trying to think of somebody that would be like considered a forest, I decided to take a drink of water, a forest music thing, but yeah. Top 5 best series of all time. I'm sure I've done videos on this. Are you talking about like book series? My top 5 favorite. Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. The Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Probably Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I personally love the Grisha trilogy. I also know that it's like not the pinnacle of fiction, however, remains strong in my heart. And then there's series that aren't finished yet, so I don't really want to call it, like, I would put probably Witchlands in there, but like it's not finished, so I don't feel like I can. So of like finished series, I'm trying to like think through my series because I have a lot of unfinished ones, damn it. And top 5 of like all time. Like Remnant Chronicles is up there, but is it like in top 5? I don't know. Wrath in the Dawn I really liked, but I didn't love the second book that much. Winter's Kiss I really liked, but I didn't love the finale. I get tripped up with finales, man. Daughter of Smoke and Bone wouldn't be like top 5. It'd be in like top 10, 15 probably. I wouldn't consider Raven Boys top 5 for me. I'm doing this, staring into space, picturing my bookshelf with my like the little bit of photographic memory that I have. I don't have a photographic memory, but I can picture it. Yeah, like I have a lot of favorites that aren't finished. So yeah, of like the unfinished ones, it would be like Witchlands. Witchlands. The Expanse, I haven't caught up on that yet. Oh, Nevernight would probably be in my top 5. Would Nevernight be in my top 5? Of the finished ones, I think Nevernight would be in my top 5. Oh, speaking of, I'm reading The Girl in the Tower and finding it slightly hard going. I love The Bear and the Nightingale. Does The Girl in the Tower pick up? I feel like it does. So the thing about The Girl in the Tower is that it has more. Oh, this series is so fucking good. It has more political stuff and less magic. I feel like book 1 is very magic folklore stuff, and it's kind of slow. It's this foundation. Book 2 still has magic, but is much more about like the political situation and history and like how the magic slightly influencing that, but is a lot more of that. And then book 3 combines the two. Ugh. So you need all of it. But yeah, I still liked The Girl in the Tower a lot. I like all of them. I like the whole series, but like Winter of the Witch Man, chef's kiss. So yeah, I think it picks up. I mean, it's been a little while since I read the second book, but there is like some actiony stuff that happens. usually have such a hard time with literary fiction. It's super rare that I actually enjoy lit fic. The way they are written and structured usually doesn't work for me at all. Yeah, like I go through periods of where I'm like, I want to read more of this, but like I think it's because I do. I mean, again, it's a false dichotomy. We're talking a lot about false dichotomies lately, but I do read for mostly like escapism, but I also like critique when I'm reading, obviously. Um, but so like reading about like real life problems besides in romance, I don't really love. I don't love it. Like I don't want to read about like, and this is a stereotype too, because there's a stereotype that like all the literary fiction is like men that hate their jobs and like, you know, got passed by in life and it's slow, character driven, whatever. And not all of it is that. Um, but yeah, like I don't love it. And then like there's also this gap between literary fiction and then what is just like very commercial stuff that I feel like I could like slightly more, but it just doesn't appeal to me. Like I don't want to read about. I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't. Like I just everyday life stuff. Like I get that there's really interesting themes there and things you can do and character studies and whatever, but I want to read about magic. I want to read about space, and I want to read about like two people in love kissing each other's faces and stuff and being all funny. So like that's what I enjoy, and I don't want to just have like the monotony of life to look at. You know, you know. Which book made you feel most uncomfortable? Oh, what's the book that I hate? I can see it. The Russian one. The Russian love story. Someone's gonna tell me in the comments. I hate that book. Why do I like I can see it. Why can I not think of it? It's removed itself from my brain. I hate it. The Bronze Horseman. That's it. That one made me uncomfy. Also my other hated book, the Beautiful Disaster. Beautiful Disaster? I think it's just Beautiful Disaster. Uncomfy. As far as anything that like squicked me, have there been any books that have like squicked me out with their like goriness? Yes, but not enough for me to not like them. Like there's some scenes in like the Red Sister Book of the Ancestor series that I was like, oh, because it's grimdark. So I'm like, oh gosh, um, it's very very brief. It's not a super gory book. Um, the gore in Nevernight didn't bother me. Um, I'm currently reading Ruthless Gods by Emily Duncan, and I know that has like some eye stuff later on, so like that might squick me out. But yeah, most of my uncomfortable books are because they're like abusive. Seems like most book clubs are either obsessed with super pop culture stuff or classics. I've had enough white dudes telling me their feels. Yeah, like that was what was interesting about this club was that they're doing this whole thing where like you pick a book based on a theme and you're not all reading the same book, and that's cool. But I was just expecting more variety. I mean, one girl did read graphic novels, so she's my only hope right now. Because she was talking about graphic novels. So yeah, and there's other people that couldn't make it this time that like might like fantasy and stuff. So hopefully I'm not like the only fantasy person in that group, because that's going to be super awkward when they're all like talking about like their literary fiction books and like James Patterson, and I'm like, sorry, this book by this author named M.K. Jemisin, and you guys should read her. She's really good. She's award winning. You know, yeah, I just don't really want to like spend the emotional energy on that. I think we all want more bookish friends in real life. Yeah. And the thing is like I plan to do, I've said this before, I did a meetup before I left Philadelphia that was great with people that have subscribed to my channel and stuff. And I want to do that here too. But right now I'm not going to do that, even though I just talked about how like I'm going to do stuff that's like low risk social things. But I still I don't want to be somebody that does a meetup with subscribers as like an influencer, because that feels super icky. Like potentially someone doing like coming out of their comfort zone or their safe environment because they want to like meet me. Like I don't like, I'm okay with going to things that are prearranged in these like outdoor settings and stuff, but like I don't want to do that with like you guys right now. But but I think that's the most successful I'm going to be about like finding book friends. I know there's like plenty of people in the Chicago area that like have said before that they want to meet up, like, and do a meetup when all things are in the clear, but we can't do it until everything's in the clear. So, boo. Sorry, I have to scroll back up to where I was. Okay. We're here for the tangents. Thank you. Anyone who scoffs at entire genres should not own a bookshop. Agreed. Have you ever thought about having your own therapy practice in the future? Mildly, but I probably wouldn't happen for a very long time. I actually talked to the woman that hired me about that because I'm in a group practice, so it's a smaller. It's not like a agency. It's like a smaller group practice where there's just like a group. I think there's about like 8 of us, and she like runs it and everything. And the business aspect of having a private practice is a pain in the ass. That I just kind of don't want to deal with. like a lot of her time is spent like, I mean, she has an office manager too, but a lot of her time is spent like doing insurance stuff and like, marketing and the website and all of that. I'm just like, ooh, like, could I do it? Yes, but I don't want to for a long time. And really, I would want to build up my clientele and like my expertise so that people in the area know me, before ever having my own private practice. But I have talked to a friend, and I think she might not be doing social work school anymore, but one of my friends, is very cool, and she, is into the like BDSM and poly communities, and she's always wanted to be like a poly and kink supportive therapist because that those communities, it's hard for them to find therapists that like get it. So she was going to social work school. I think when all this happened, she stopped. Um, but we talked about like, hey, in the future we should open like a practice together, and like I'll be my medical specialties and stuff, and you can be like the sex stuff, and like cool. So I can see that happening when I'm like, I don't know, like late 40s. Mayhaps. I kind of like the idea of having a group practice for now because I like being around other therapists. I don't like being kind of on my own because therapists that I've known in the past that have been just private practice themselves, they get kind of like stuck in this like they're their own lone iceberg, and their way is the only way, and like they just kind of get in their own patterns and stuff. And I like being exposed to people who have a variety of like therapeutic takes, therapeutic experiences, a lot of different like client types and stuff because we all see kind of slightly different populations and stuff. So I like that like group environment without it being like a huge company and all the bureaucratic crap there, but just like a small group where we have like a variety of experiences and stuff. I agree with folklore was great, but a bit too popish. That's exactly how I feel at times. I like Hosier, yeah, for foresty vibes. Yeah, I like and it sounds like her. Like folklore is good for Taylor Swift because it definitely sounds like her. But and like she always has that like it's this kind of style with a pop added to it. But yeah, there's more like I don't know, cottagecore, man. Like just look up cottagecore, and like that's and like cottagecore, the music that plays in the background of cottagecore videos on um TikTok, that's what I like. Or like people that play like Celtic women. like that's the vibe I enjoy. Is King of Scars worth reading? I mean, yes. It's not my favorite of like the whole world. It's my least favorite of the whole world. We'll see what the rest of the series is like. But I mean, if you like the whole rest of the world, like I'm sure it's worth it. It's just not, in my opinion, it's not great. Um, I think it's the weakest, but I still like. It isn't so bad to me that I wouldn't have wanted to read it. I don't want to like erase it from my brain or anything. What are your thoughts on His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman? I read it. I liked it, but I read it as an adult, and it like so. Here's this series is interesting to me because I love discussing that series with people. Like Nicole Sweeney from Sweeney Says, she like it is her favorite series of all time, and I really like talking about people. I didn't love my reading experience of it. Like I wasn't super attached to it, but like the themes of that story are really cool. I really like the discussions you can have with people about it. But there's definitely parts that like weren't super enjoyable for me, and like the end is also like really weird too. Like some of the, but again, it's all something that you can like discuss with people. So I like the like world and stuff, and like I said, the themes, but like it's not one that stands out to me as like a favorite series of mine. Why are you wagging your tail? Can you see her tail? I think she's dreaming. I think she's dreaming. I thought she was listening to like something out there, but I think she's dreaming. It's so funny. Going off talking about the Grishaverse, Lee Bardugo is such a hit or miss for me. I didn't like the Grisha trilogy, but love Ninth House. So it's so funny. Lee is one of my favorite authors. However, I don't love all of her stuff either. I haven't read Ninth House, although don't hold me to this. I am feeling so good mental health wise that I feel like I could attempt it. Because a lot of stuff that was like really triggering to me, I'm a little bit more like, I don't know, I'm just in a good place with that. That could change. That very well will change at some point. But like right now, I'm like, maybe I could do it. So we'll see. Um, there's still a lot in that book that I'm just like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, like I didn't love King of Scars, and I didn't love. She's done like a couple of short stories. I liked the Grishaverse short story collection, but I read a story from her in another book that I didn't like. And I don't know how I feel about Ninth House because I have a lot of friends that have similar opinions to me with books and like I've like hated it. So we'll see. So she's not like an infallible author to me. Like, but she's also one of the authors I've read the most of. So like like Erin Morgenstern is my favorite author. Yes, I've only read 2 books by her because she only has 2 books out. So is it fair to compare her to Lee Bardugo that has like 7? I don't know, you know? Okay. Gotta scroll up. How do you find these book clubs? Meetup.com. There are some like sometimes posted on Facebook, but like I find it easiest on Meetup. Have you heard of the Year of the Witching? Yes. Again, like I'm very about like spoopy things, which is like so funny because like I'm actually somebody that's like into the woo woo witchy stuff right now. But like I need to look more closely at that and be like, is it scary or will I be fine? Because I don't like being scared for fun because I don't find it fun. Did you love or love the Stormlight Archive? I mean, I've only read the first book, and I plan on continuing it. And it's not a series that I consider my favorite yet because I've only read the first book. But I did like it, and I think it's going to be good for me. For some reason, literary fiction, and Google believes this too, is in a higher esteem than other genres. Like I've seen literary fiction fumble topics where sci-fi fantasy have flourished. Yeah, like I think sci-fi fantasy does such a good job of covering some really good themes, and for people to be like act like it's just all fluff, not true. Just finished Altered Carbon season 2. I forgot. Have you watched season 1 yet? Season 1 was amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm really bad about watching TV, but Altered Carbon is on my list of things to watch because I saw like a gift set of one of the dudes on there, and I was like, that's my type. So like I kind of want to watch it for that, but I'm also not super motivated by like hot people. Like I used to be. I used to be very motivated when I was younger about like that person's pretty. I'm going to watch that show, and now I'm like whatever. So yeah, so I I can see his face in my head right now though, and he's very cute. But that's my only like major motivator right now. So yeah, right now like the top of the list is still Avatar and eventually the Umbrella Academy when it comes out. Ooh, this is interesting. I do have some concerns when it comes to cottagecore, since I feel like it comes from this feeling of wanting to escape rather than challenge the problems of the world, but I definitely get the appeal. So I see that, but also like I see that, but whenever I watch cottagecore, it's or like I see cottagecore things, it's not necessarily the wanting to escape part. It's wanting to recharge in solitude to then come back to like the real world. Because like if I ever lived a cottagecore life, I wouldn't want to be so far removed from everything that I'm not a part of society. You know, like I would still want like access to urban things because I really like urban social stuff and like culture. I just don't want to necessarily like live like I don't feel recharged by urban environments when I'm like living in them. It's a weird, very weird dynamic that I have to like deal with. So I like the when I look at cottagecore, it's more about really enjoying that aesthetic of interior design, I guess, and like a vibe that feels so nourishing and comforting to my soul when you're home. But then you go out into the world and like still do stuff. Does that make any sense? So yeah, although I constantly say that like I want to go into the forest and never be heard from again, which I do feel, I don't actually want to go into the forest and never be heard from again. I don't know, sometimes that is appealing. Like only if there are only if I can fall in love with like a wood nymph and date them. Like that'd be the only instance. So yeah, I don't actually want to be like cut off. Like although there is this weird ethereal appeal sometimes to like van life, which I would never do, but I still look at the videos. Off the grid, like some of that stuff can be very like ooh, so appealing, but like I know that like I wouldn't actually be able to sustain that, and I don't want to be like yeah, like running from my problems. I'm trying to hydrate. Okay. I loved Celtic Women as a child. My mom thought it was weird, but then I think it was a sign of my future Wiccan self. Celtic music is so damn good. It's so good. Have you ever read the Assassin's Creed book series? I haven't. I don't really read series that are like based on video games and stuff. I've just never find them to be like a good hit for me, you know? Ooh, did you like the plot for Clockwork Angel or only the romance? I just started reading it. So Clockwork Angel is the first book in the series, right? I It is, right? Yes. I had to think about it. Um, the plot of the first book I like don't really love. I like more in the second and third book. But I don't read those books for the plot, man. Like I know there's a plot in it and like it's fine, but like I read it for the characters and their interactions mostly. So, yeah, but the first book in that is pretty weak. I think I gave it like 3 stars. Okay. Ooh, I'm reading Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I'm awed by how well she wrote feelings. Yes! Everyone needs to read it. It's so good. Do you take notes when reading books? Or you just remember the details well enough to discuss it? I'm horrible at not retaining details, but I never feel confident discussing books. I don't take notes while I'm reading it, but I'll like jot down notes after, or like I'll jot down notes right before I film a review because I usually film a review within like a week of reading something. So before I film my review, I write down notes, and I usually remember enough like major details. Um, so yeah, I just tend to write like very kind of like bare bones bullet point notes, and that helps me. Which books do you suggest to improve my vocabulary? Currently trying to improve my English in quarantine. That's tough. I think honestly, like just reading a book in a genre that you want to read, because I think some people would recommend like read a classic, but like people don't talk like that. So I think it kind of depends on what you want to go for. I almost feel like a contemporary is going to be like probably your best bet with English, just because like the way that we talk. You know, like learning English from media, you kind of want to go with the stuff that's most current so that you are duplicating the way that we like currently talk. Do you guys see her? Oh, hold on. Belly to the sky. Like, just so funny. Um, so yeah, I don't have like a specific book that I would recommend for that. Um, but I would reach for something like newer for sure. Have you read Midnight Lie? I haven't yet, but I deeply want to. Is that on my Amazon wish list? My birthday's coming up next month. I think I didn't add it to my wish list. It might be on there, but I think I didn't add it because I'm trying to like finish. I'm trying to finish up my series. You know, like some of the series that I'm like really close to finishing. I have like one book left. Like I'm trying to prioritize those books and get those for my birthday, and then read those over the fall, and then by Christmas like have other books. This is just the way that I regiment my own reading. It's not like a required thing or anything, but like that's just what I've been doing to get some of those damn series off. Like I want to have them finished so I can have opinions about entire series. You know. Would you be interested in a Facebook romance group where you can discuss this genre freely? I don't use Facebook a ton. I have Facebook for like events mostly, when you can actually do events, so not so much anymore. So I like never check it. I'm a part of a couple of plant groups. But yeah, like as far as for books and stuff, like I don't really love like yeah, like plant like not plant Facebook groups. I also don't really like book groups. I don't really tend to do because I get my book stuff from this. Um, and like a genre specific, like even like a Discord or something, I don't really think that I would engage a ton with that, just because this is my outlet for it. That person is pretty. I'm gonna watch that show. Literally the only reason I watched Rain. Um, I think seeing pretty, like it's typically for me seeing pretty people. Oh, is there a bee on that flower? Oh, that's so cute. My mom planted flowers outside. They're like daisies, and there's a bee in one. Um, so almost all the shows that I've watched is because I've been like, ooh, look at that pretty person. Ooh, that pretty person and that pretty person are like making eyes at each other. Like I watch TV shows for ships. I'm not even gonna like lie about that. That's like why I watch TV. Um, so like Grey's Anatomy, I was like, ooh, everyone's pretty. And like the Vampire Diaries, I saw like the love triangle and I was like, everyone's pretty. And I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones for the plot. Look how that turned out. What else? Skins, because of Effie and Freddie and Cook. So good. So like I just mostly, that's when I used to watch a lot of TV. When I was on Tumblr, I watched way more TV because I would see gift sets of pretty people and I'd be like, the 100, seeing Belark and stuff, because I started watching that in season 1 when it was like before Lexa came on, RIP. So like all these shows I'm just like, ooh, pretty. And then I want to watch them all be in love. Is anyone interested in Naomi Novik's new book, A Deadly Education? Yes. I'm going to get a copy of that, I'm pretty sure. I have one on Netflix, not Netflix, on NetGalley. Because I was like, wait, isn't that one I'm going to read soon? So yeah, I'm pumped. I am pumped. Is Folk of the Year trilogy worth reading? I think so. I mean, like, it's not my favorite. It has its problems, but it's like so easy to read and like just really digestible. Ooh, have you read Ready Player One? Not sure if I should read it. I have. It's fine. A lot of people really like it. That actually got brought up in book club too. That someone was like Ready Player One, and I'm like, um, but it's like it's very popular. I feel like it's very like universally appealing in a lot of ways, but it does have some issues. It is like basically the author showing how nerdy he is by all the 80s facts, 80s nerd facts he can like rattle off. Um, so that's like, it's just like, it's like nostalgia porn for mostly like men who are nostalgic for the 80s. There are plenty of people outside of that that love it, but that's what it feels like to me. And then there's some like misogyny and stuff, you know, but like it's very actiony. It's very like if you're into video games, there's a lot of that. Not super complicated, like really easy to read, like very very gamey, you know. But it's not like my favorite. I think I gave it 3 stars. It's fun, you know. It's just fun. Are you interested in reading Axioms End by Lindsay Ellis? Yes, I've gotten more interested. Like I wasn't immediately drawn to it, but then the more that like she talks about it, 'cause she barely like she barely promotes it, but she's like, you know, it's early 2000s sci-fi. And I'm like, I think I could dig it. So I'm gonna kind of see if some people that I um, enjoy it. You know, basically, like if people whose opinions align with mine like it, then I'll probably read it. I just don't want to be disappointed by a person who like I don't love reading books by people that I follow online because I don't want to feel like I just know their personality so much that I like see them in it too much, you know, but I also love her. So I think that I will read it at some point. Do you use that galley? Yes. And I have not tried the new audiobooks yet, only because I already have some audiobooks that are in the queue for my library. And then I don't think I have any on Audible, but most are from the library. I'm reading A Cotta Witch on audiobook right now. I just finished How to Be Anti-Racist. I have Stamped that I think is about to come in. Um, how to talk about race? How to talk to white people about race? I forget. A bunch of like nonfiction stuff. So I haven't done the audiobooks yet because I have other things I need to read on audio right now. But I do like almost all of my Kindle reading these days is NetGalley Kindle romance books because I request all of them. Like I think I have 8 right now that are like pending that are all stuff that's coming out in the like fall and winter. So I have time. But I just go on there, like even if I have a ton that I already have like approved for me, I'll go on there and be like, what's up next? Like I have like 3 Christmas books on there. Like the new Christina Lauren Christmas one. And then there's another Christmas one, I think, from another author that I like. So I'm just like, why are you requesting Christmas books? And I'm like, well, I'm going to want to read them around Christmas. So I'm going to have them and I'm going to wait to read them until like October, November before they come out. Well, I guess some of them might actually be coming out in like October because sometimes those books get released around that time. So yeah, but I do use NetGalley. I'm not ace, I'm bi, but lately I crave reading asexual characters. I don't find any good books, just very good fan fiction. Recommend me some. Um, it's hard with ace characters because there's not a ton that explicitly say they're ace. So a lot of my favorite ace characters are more like headcanons. So like Katsa from the Graceling series by Kristen Kishore is like pretty widely regarded as like an ace character, even though it's not said in the book. One of the characters in Saw Kill Girls by Claire Legrand is ace. And possibly bi. I think she's bi. I think she's bi and ace. And that whole book is just very gay and it's great. Who else is ace? Mm-hmm. I feel like there was a couple that I've read where they've like mentioned it offhand. Do I have any in my? Oh, I don't want to open it right now. I was going to say in my spreadsheet, I might have some marked down as ace from like this year. It's so hard because again, there's so many that are like headcanon, but those are the 2 that stick out in my head the most. Who would you recommend a classic to learn English from? Most speakers are difficult to understand, even most classics are difficult to understand, even for first language English speakers. That's what I said. So that's like I said that a lot of people probably would recommend a classic because it's kind of like what the go-to is for people when they're like learning English, but like I said, I don't know why, because that's not actually how we speak. Modern classics are kind of different because there's classics from like 50s, 60s on that are easier to understand. But yeah, that's why I said a contemporary book, not a classic. Speaking of plants, I got a succulent last week and already managed to murder 3 of its leaves. Are you overwatering it? What happened to it? I'm not a succulent person because they're not for me. They're harder to take care of than they look like. Can you explain what you mean why Guinevere Deception felt like younger YA to you? I took a chance and I'm loving it. I think because so the writing is like fine. It's not necessarily the writing. I think the characters feel much younger than a lot of YA that's popular right now. Like a lot of YA, like the Witchland series, the Grisha series, what else is some like even like the Folk of the Air, like that definitely is more like upper YA, the way that the characters act. Guinevere Deception, particularly the Guinevere character, feels so much younger. So that's why I said that it felt like younger YA, not because of like the complexity of the story or like the writing necessarily, but more for like character actions, which is fine because YA is YA and these characters are supposed to be teenagers. But I didn't want anyone watching that review and then going into it feeling like they were going to get like more mature characters when they're very much more like almost like age appropriate, pretty much. For Axiom, and the first synopsis really didn't pitch the book all that well, and I thought it would skip out, but then I read a new one and immediately put on hold for it. Ooh, I should read a new synopsis then, because I don't think I've read anything since the original. Really been craving cute lesbian pining lately and haven't been able to find many. Um, yeah, like I read a book recently that had some good lesbian pining, but then towards the end of it, like I didn't like it as much. What was that called? Is it Kiss Me Every Day by Denna Blake, I want to say? Um, that was like my most recent, like kind of cute lesbian pining, but like, yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of cute lesbian pining that I've read recently. About the succulent. I feel like I was gonna like burp or hiccup. There we go. A lot of times plants will drop leaves though when you get them because they're adjusting to your environment. So like um, obviously in greenhouses and stuff, plants are in the best environment for them and the most ideal conditions. So when they're adjusting to your environment, they're going to drop leaves and get a little cranky. So that might have been what happened. You're making me want to be a plant mom so bad. Do it, man. Like my life feels, it feels better to be surrounded by plants. Like I got 3 new ones the other week. Like it's good. It's a good time. I love them. I look at them every day. I love having them in my room. They're safer right now because the cats aren't around because the cats like to destroy them. So that'll be a whole thing when I move where I'm gonna have to get them all like in places where the cats can't get to them. Probably gonna have a lot of them hanging, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy it. You should read You Should See Me in a Crown. It has some very beautiful lesbian moments. So that's YA contemporary, right? Because like I have not read YA contemporary in so long because I'm just like not interested. I can still read like YA fantasy and sci-fi again, mostly because the characters like feel older anyway, and like it's not like teenage problems. But like I just have, and this is not saying that you can't read this when you're an adult, but like me, I have a very hard time reading about like teenage problems. Not because they're not valid, but just because I'm like, you know, um, I like happily ever afters these days that feel like they could actually be forever, and teenage ones don't feel that way when it comes to romances, because I'm like, you're teenagers. Again, people can meet the love of their lives when they're teenagers, not saying they can't. However, probably not. So I have a hard time with that. I don't know, like I'm just not very drawn to like any YA contemporary, which is a bummer because there are so many that like in theory, like I would like to read. Like Felix Ever After looks like really good. A lot of like the really good like LGBT stuff that's coming out. I'm just like, I don't want to read about modern teenagers. Like I get my modern fix from romance, adult romance, and I get my like fantasy fix from, you know, both YA and adult. And that's just like that's very much a me thing. Again, not anyone else needs to feel this way thing. That's just how I am right now. And again, not invalidating their problems. Their problems are very valid. I just don't care, you know? So about like fictional problems. That's the thing too, is like I care about like real life teen problems. I just not in that medium. I don't know. About to read Gentleman Jack soon. If you read it or seen the series. No, I haven't done either, but I've seen clips of it and it does look very good. Ooh, that's a good idea. I'm Brazilian. The first book I read in English was Percy Jackson. Sometimes YA can be jarring for non-native speakers due to the amount of slang. I feel like middle grade's the way to go. Good idea. I didn't even think about middle grade, but yeah, that makes sense. What are some plant tubers you follow? My favorite ones are Becca de la Plants, Nick Pileggi, Kaylee Ellen, although she does a lot of rare plants, so if you're new to plants, you might not. I mean, her content is like beautiful. I'm going to look up some people too, because I know I'm forgetting some names. But she gets very expensive rare plants that like even I would get right now because they're just. She's on X Games mode, you know. Let's see who I follow. Becca de la Plants. Let me see the girl that does like the Hoyas. Is she on here? Harley G is good, although she recently had a baby and she doesn't do a lot of content, like very much. Okay. Lessia's Leaves. I really like her. She has a lot of Hoyas. So it's Lessya's Leaves. And then I like Crazy Plant Guy as well. So those are my favorites. Romance Rex. My favorites that I've read in the last like about a year, because I've been reading it for about a year now. Beach Read by Emily Henry, Well Met by Jen DeLuca, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, The Romance Book Club. I don't know the author's name off the top of my head. One Day in December by Josie Silver, although some people probably won't like that one, so check the synopsis, but I like it. Those are probably like my top 5. Other ones that I read. Let me open this. A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah McLean is a historical one. What else is on here? Oh, the like Brown Sisters books, the Take a Hint, Danny Brown, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I've read more than that, but those are my favorites, I think. Heart and Soul by Erin Kinsella was like a K-pop romance type thing. A Wedding in December by Sarah Morgan for Christmas. Those are my favorites so far. Eventually I'll do a video about all my favorites, but I want to have like 10 favorites. But there's been some of there in there that are still like good that I haven't that I wouldn't give like 5 stars, say they're my favorite. Ooh, this is good. What was a romance trope that you once thought was really romantic, but now find kind of problematic? I used to love the overprotective boyfriend trope, and now it's a no. I loved every problematic trope as a teenager because I didn't know better, and I had no exposure to other things. So I think reading problematic tropes are totally fine if somebody like has exposure to other things and like knows this isn't like the only way. But I was so exposed, like so many people, to like bad stuff when I was younger that like I didn't know it wasn't romantic. But yeah, the overprotective boyfriend, it wasn't so much overprotective, but like I really liked like in straight couples, like dudes fighting over a girl, like fist fighting. Now I'm like, ugh. Like if I see like whenever I see it, I'm just like, oh god. Like it doesn't happen super often. It happens often enough though. Like I've probably read it in like 5 or more books, where a guy's like, I'm gonna punch you, and I'm like, stop it. And it usually is like a character that like isn't even like that, and then he gets like that. Like I'm totally fine with the guy like defending the girl in a straight relationship, like by like standing in front of her if someone's being threatening to her or something. But like anytime that there's hitting, especially because of like jealousy, like that guy hit on her and now I want to punch him, like ew. But when I was younger, I was like, they care about me. I'm so fucking stupid. What other Yeah, I think just anything that's like a super codependent dynamic. I used to again like more when I was younger, and now I'm like, bleh. I think like even kind of like I mentioned earlier, like teenage soulmates. I used to be like, oh my god, I actually told my first boyfriend, like, well, not like first boyfriend, like first like real like long term relationship. I was like, um, I would like love you to be like the last person that I'm like ever with, blah blah blah. And like no, because the person I was at like 17 is not the person I am at 30. What? So yeah, that would have been horrible. That would, oh my god, that would have been horrible. So yeah, some of that stuff, like, you meet the love of your life as like a child or a teen. I'm like, oh. What other things that I used to like? Just general alpha maleness I used to be more into, and now I'm like, be a strong man, but be like not a douche, Um, yeah, those are the big things. Good Omens is great. More like Gay Moments, yes. I watched that when it first came out on Amazon, and it is so good, and I would gladly rewatch that series. Gladly. Thoughts on City of Brass? I haven't read it. I plan to read it. It's on my list. Again, once I finish up some other series, because that would be a new series that I'd be starting, but I haven't read it yet. How many books are left in your TBR? I think 4 of the books that I started the year with. And then I have like I think 5 more that I've added. So a bunch of books I took off my TBR and put into hiatus. At the end of last year when I was still going through my anxiety flare, and I was like, I can't read anything spooky. But now I've re-added those back in. So they're on like a second shelf. So the books that it's so complicated. The books that I told myself I would read like by the end of this year, like I was aiming for the end of June, obviously didn't happen. The end of those books, I have like 4 left. And then 3 or 4. And then I think I have like 5 more of like the more, again, like scary-ish books. So I have Ruthless Gods, which I'm reading right now, House of Salt and Sorrows, The Devouring Grey. What else do I have on there? Then I've bought a couple of books. So I have the River of Song and Blood. I'm forgetting what the name of that one is. The Amanda Joy book. Where Dreams Descend, I just read Bonecryer's Moon. I know there's other ones on that like little was too scary to read before, but now is fine list. So yeah, like 9-ish. Have you heard of G. Benson? No, I've actually never. I'll have to look into them. Will you read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue? Yes, I think I talked about that in my like upcoming popular books video. Like, will I read it? Won't I read it? And I do plan on it. I don't know if I'm going to be disappointed or not, because Victoria Schwab's books are so like hit and miss for me. But yeah, I plan to read it. It looks like it'll be good. Who knows? Sorry if it was already asked. Have you seen any possible apartments now you have a new job? So I talked about it briefly earlier, but I'm not moving soon because I need to get up to a full-time caseload. I'm a therapist now. It works a little differently. You're not like considered really salaried. You're paid by like how many clients you see, but not in like a skeezy way because it's private practice. So it's not like an agency. So just basically like once I get up to a full caseload, like I have enough people that want to see me specifically, then I'll be able to afford to move and like, you know, be able to keep paying my rent. So I have a list of places in the area because my, I'm going to be telecommuting for however long this is. And then, once we eventually go back to offices, there's 2 offices that I could potentially be working out of that are about half an hour away from each other. So I've looked at places in that radius to get an idea of what places are like, what the cost is, stuff like that. So it's slightly more expensive because it's pretty close to Chicago, but not horrible because I was looking at another place. Like I thought I was going to get a different job before this job, and it's like slightly farther out than my current job. And now apartments are like $200 more expensive per month than the old place was, but it's fine. And they're like pretty nice, so it's good. I want to live in like a decent place. I feel like I'm at that point in my life. Like my last place wasn't horrible, but you know, you guys know if you watched me, there was issues. So yeah, that's the goal. So I have a list of places that like I can narrow in on once it gets closer to when I'd actually move and like see which ones have availability and like, you know, really narrow it down. But there's no point in looking right now, you know, in depth. Can you do a video for Christmassy holiday book recs? Yes, I definitely can. There's I read a handful of them last year, but I'll probably read it a lot more this year too because it just made me so delightfully happy to read all of those. Tally, I'm not going to let you out of this room. Oh, thank you for the compliment. Just wanted to say I love your channel so much. It gives me so much joy. Thanks. I strive to be that. Obviously, I don't change my channel to be that necessarily, but like I have a lot of people that I watch that make me happy. So, Tally, are you giving me attitude? Tatas. Why are you looking at me like that? I don't want to let you out of the room. You wanted to come in here. You wanted to come in here, and now you want to leave? What for? Look at her side-eyeing me. What for? Why is that? Do you hate mommy? Do you hate mommy? She's the cutest thing in the world. Hope everybody knows that. Maybe if you scratch on the door, Grandma will let you out. How about that? Oof. What? She's trying to burrow under my back right now. Tally. What? Do you watch any productivity YouTubers? Sort of. I watch what's her name? Michelle B. She's like the only one that I consistently watch. I also watch Amanda Lee, who's like a bullet journaler. I watch a lot more like sustainability people, like not a ton, but like I tend to watch a lot more of those videos like that just show up in my recommends and not so much subscribe to them, if that makes sense. What book outside of your normal genre surprised you? I don't know. I think when I first got into romance, I was really surprised because it was outside my normal genre at the time. So like The Honeymooners was like a big shock to me because I didn't think I'd love it as much as I did. I really like Station 11, which isn't quite outside of my normal genres because it's like a literary fiction with like sci-fi elements to it, but it still is like slightly that way. I don't know. I tend to read stuff that like I know if I go outside my genre, I know I'm going to like it. Typically, what are you doing? Oh, just grooming yourself. Okay. So I can't think of something off the top of my head right now. Congrats on the new job. Thank you. Congrats on the new house. I'm sorry if you can hear me like swallowing and it freaks any of you out. No. Which of your houseplants would you say are the easiest to care for? Probably my Scindapsus pictus, like the vining things. My philodendron micans is really easy. Oh my god, my heartleaf philodendron is like a beast. Like she has grown probably 7 or 8 times in size since I got her. She's massive and like takes hardly any care. Excuse me? It's very easy to care for. Who else? My string of hearts is doing like super well too. She's like thriving. My Hoyas are pretty easy because it's just like don't overwater them. Most of the plants in here are like pretty happy. I would say like I don't know. I've had like not a ton of luck with the Marble Queen Pothos. I have another one. I'm gonna combine it into like one plant. My new one is fine. My old one gets droopy sometimes. Those are the easiest. Peperomia obovata is pretty easy. It's an easy plant. But of my favorites, of the ones that are like in here, because they're my favorites, those are the easiest. Is there a Hoya on your plant wish list? There are so many Hoya on my plant wish list. I actually should do a video on my like wish list plants. I've been meaning to do that, and I just like keep forgetting. Let me see what Hoyas are on there. You know what? I need to just not tell you now because there's so many. Like Hoya Matilde. Hoya Wilbur Graves. I'm going to do this at some point when I can show you guys pictures because then you'll know. But like I have so many Hoya that I like really like. Any sort of niche genre trope you really like to see more of in books? I would prefer in romance there to be more variety in the structure. This is not so much of like a niche, but like or like a trope, but like I've seen slightly more books that are not having the big breakup in Act 3 right before they get back together at the very end. That's a thing that happens in like nearly every romance book. So that's not like a spoiler for any book in particular. But I've read a couple of books recently that like don't have that, and I prefer that. Like have your adult characters communicate with each other instead of breaking up over a misunderstanding, because it's basically always a misunderstanding. So I would like to see that more. I mean, there's a lot of tropes that are like pretty common and popular that I'd like to see more of, like always. Like I'm always just like happy when I have like 2 characters sharing a bed. Like I just like it. I would like more enemies to friends to lovers instead of just straight enemies to lovers or just straight friends to lovers. I would like more lady friendships. I would like more. What else trope wise? I mean, there's so many. Like I like most tropes, but it's just a matter of like how well they're done. I don't know, more necromancy, but that's pretty popular anyway right now, and it's not always super well done. I can't think of it at the top of my head that I like super really wanna see more of. Do you have any recommendations for easy to care for outside plants? I don't do outside plants really, sadly. Herbs. I mean, I know that's like not super like fun, but like my mom does a lot of landscaping. Her house is beautiful. I should really show you guys. I say her house as if like it's not my dad's also, but like she does the landscaping. But like herbs are really easy to care for. I know that's not like the most fun, but like basil will just like fucking explode. Like it is so easy. Basil and like mint will just like flourish like nobody's business. Um, Let me see, like some succulents are pretty decent for like full sun. Outside they're pretty easy. Let me see like what flowers. I don't know, it's so hard because I'm so picky about like what I like a lot of like trailing outdoor plants too. So that like grow on like up the side of things. But a lot of like trailing vining things tend to be like pretty easy care. How gory is the beautiful? It's not really. There's some parts. It's more. I wouldn't call it gory. So the difference between like gory and bloody to me is significant because gore implies a certain level of chunkiness, I know. And blood is just blood. So I consider them different. There are some scenes that are like a little bloody because it's descriptions of like a murder scene, not in like a gory way. They don't go into depth, but they're just like there's a lot of blood everywhere because it's like supernatural things like drinking blood, you know? But it's not in detail. It didn't bother me at all. I don't get super squicked out by blood or gore, but like sometimes I'm like, ugh! Like some grimdark makes me like, ugh. But I wasn't really bothered, but it's just kind of like, think almost like a Jack the Ripper type murder mystery, you know? So it has that level of like, there's blood, but there's not like descriptions, you know? Thoughts on variegated plants? I think they're overhyped, but they are really pretty. I don't love every single variegated plant, but there's certain ones that I do like. Like I have, this isn't quite called variegation, but I guess it kind of is. I have this Marble Queen Pothos who has like white on her. I like the fucking elbow variegated monsteras, which are not stable variegation, which means for you non-plant people that basically the white that's on those plants can go away. So you pay a ton of money for these variegated plants and then they're not stable and they leave. But I do like those. I like some variegation in like Hoya and stuff that have like the white, like in the inner leaves or outer leaves, but I'm not like a super big stan of it. I don't really like yellow variegation. I only really like white variegation. I like some pink, but yeah, it's not like I really just like straight up green plants. Like I like the way that like that looks. So like the like elbow syngoniums, like I don't really care for. Yeah, a plant just being popular because it's variegated. Like I don't want a variegated Monstera Ansonii. No, they're harder to care for. So like I don't think it needs to happen always, but there's some that like are really cool and I do like. If you had a garden, would you be into gardening as well, or is it just houseplants you like? I prefer houseplants. I don't love being working outside in the heat. So like I love to go into forests and hike and like be in the mountains and things like that. Being out in like the sun working in the dirt, nah. If I had a garden, it would honestly be, this is so witchy, it would honestly be like a moon garden. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they are gardens that basically bloom at night and look best in moonlight. I've loved them since I was like a child. Like I saw them in a gardening book once and I was like, oh, like it's so pretty. Like there's a lot of like purples and blues and whites and stuff so that in moonlight they look so fucking bomb. So I'd probably have that. And then I could also kind of care for it at night too. I've been witchy my whole life. I should have really embraced it before now. Yes, Micans, philodendron Micans grow like weeds. I got this one that I have now that had like 3 leaves when I got it back. Was it April or May, I want to say. And now it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 leaves and 2 new leaves growing in like a couple months. Have you ever saved a plant from the brink? I've never bought a plant that's dying because I'm not that skilled, but there have been plants of mine that have been like, oh, and it's come back. Like my rattlesnake calathea, my cat, they're not toxic. My cat at the old apartment got on top of the fridge, destroyed it down. Like all of the leaves were eaten. A lot of them were torn out. Like I had like 10 leaves on that plant and she tore it down to like 2 big leaves with teeth marks in them, and then like maybe 2 or 3 that were like mostly destroyed, but I just trimmed them back and kept them so they could still produce like chlorophyll and stuff. And it just grew 3 new leaves. They're small, but it happened. They didn't grow anything over the winter. She did this right in like the fall. Fucking bitch. And like now it's coming back. So that's the only one that's been like from the brink. My other calathea, is that a medallion? I forget. She was kind of like, oh, like she had got a couple like yellow leaves, but I sprayed her down with some insecticide and I think she's been fine. But I don't buy things that look like they might be dying and try to save them because I'm not that good. So, do you prefer traditional plants or succulents? Traditional. I prefer just like tropical houseplants. Succulents and cacti are obviously desert houseplants. I am not good at those. I haven't even really tried. Succulents need a fuck ton of light. Like they just need a ton of sunlight and like to never be watered. And I really prefer like a jungly look. So I like trailing plants. Like most of my plants are trailing, the grand majority. So I just want them to like vine everywhere. Once I get all the plants on my like wish list that I want, I'll probably start buying duplicates of the same plant, because it's not really about collecting, gotta have them all, collecting all individual plants. I just want to have like a bushy, lush fucking house. With most of them hanging from the ceiling, to be honest, and like draping down and looking gorgeous. So that's what I prefer. I prefer much more tropical plants. What's your favorite flower? Um, Lilies, actually. I really like stargazer lilies, and really like any kind of lily. I like peace lilies, but like stargazer, so pretty. It's probably my favorite. Do I have any other ones that are like really high on my list? All I can see in my head now are lilies. Mm, I'm not a huge flower person, to be honest, but lilies, man, they're my favorite. Literary tattoos, question mark, like as in do I have any? I don't, but I'd be open to some. I talked about this last time and someone commented about it, but I actually want some tattoos like that are over a scar that I have, but I really can't. I looked it up after because someone was like, you can totally do that, just look up somebody that specializes in tattooing over scars, and I have to wait like 3 years for this scar before I can tattoo over it. And it's more of like a Persephone themed tattoo. I could see myself potentially getting, I don't think I get a night circus tattoo as much as I love it, just because like that's not really the like decor that I want in my body. I prefer a lot more like nature tattoos. Makes sense. Um, I can see myself maybe getting like a starless sea, like the symbols from the starless sea on myself. But I don't see myself really being someone that's like covered in tattoos either. I think I've like, not that I've missed my time, but like since I do scar, I have to be really careful. I just don't want to get like overly tattooed and have them like scar up, blah blah blah. This is facts. For all the places where Sarah J. Maas dropped the ball and Akamath hit so many good tropes in that one book, it did. It did. Like that book, I like that book. I don't like the rest of the series really. Like I don't care about her other books, but like that book, man, as its own thing, is so good. Did you feel like there were too many characters in The Beautiful and not enough character building? I was super confused at the end with the characters. I think that a lot of the side characters were like not fleshed out at all. The two main characters were like fine for me as far as like I feel like I knew them. Odette was fine, although I would have liked to see more of her. But then towards the end, when there were some more characters, I was kind of like, we don't know anything about them. But I think we're gonna know a lot about them in the rest of the books, obviously. But there was just a lot kind of just mentioned and sort of dropped in there as like these are part of like the court, and you didn't really learn like a ton about them in book one, which I mean, it's fine. It's the first book, so. Do you think you will continue on with the companion actor series? Was that a typo, or has it been so long that you don't really care? Companion actor. Akatar. Is that what you meant? Um, Sorry, I was like, is that what you meant? Maybe the Akatar series. So I will. I haven't read that like Frost of Starlight whatever book, but I probably will at some point. I think I'll continue. I think she just announced the like Nesta book. Nesta. I'm forgetting. So I'll like I will, I think. Because I of all of her like books, I've liked the Akatar books more. Like I mean, I didn't like Akatar. I loved Akamath, and Akawar was like meh. But I do like the characters in there. So I think I will continue with those and like read the next book that's out and stuff. But I'm not like in a super hurry. Like I'm not super tied up in it. But they're really easy to read, and like I do like that little band of characters and stuff. So I'll probably, is that what's called, A Court of Silver Flame? Yeah, like I'm still a little bitter though because like of what she did to like Azrael and stuff. So nah. How'd you get into crystals? Slowly and then all at once. I really like the look of them, number one, and then they've just gotten more popular in recent years. So like they're very like aesthetically pleasing. They're in mainstream shops, things like that. And then so I got a few of them last year, and then in the last few months I've gotten like a ton. because I do like just the properties and stuff like that. So really it's just a matter of like going to not physical, metaphysical stores, and if you have one nearby, which most people actually do, they're just like, you don't know where they are until you know. It's like a secret. Because you just don't even notice them until like you notice them. And just find ones that you like, find ones that have properties that you like. I like them as a thing where you can focus your intention on the thing that they're supposed to be representative of. Not that I necessarily feel that they have these like magical properties. I do and I don't. I just did a video on my other channel about that I'm going to post later on, probably this week. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into them. So really like going to shops and stuff. I have not yet ordered a crystal online because I haven't had to really. Like I don't have any that are like on my wish list that I really want that like I couldn't find at a shop. Like I pretty much plan on buying my crystals at local shops, going to like rock and gem like conventions when that can happen again, and getting them that way. So Azrael was done so dirty. He deserved none of it. I know. I know. He was like my favorite. I shipped him and more. I talked at length about this when it came out, about how I feel like she just got criticism for not having any LGBT characters and decided to make more LGBT, even though that was not at all like foreshadowed. Not that it had to be foreshadowed because it's not a twist, but like as a gay, I I feel like I have a certain level of room to stand on where I'm like, I appreciate that you try to put rep in there. I do. However, Amryn was right there as like a potential like lesbian or ace or both. And you use more who you completely already fucking foreshadowed to be like with Azrael, and don't act like you didn't. Because in Akamath, I shipped them so hard. So I'm just like, and I have really good fictional gaydar. So I'm like, don't tell me that was like foreshadowed. You were totally gonna get them together. So yeah, it's not all about ships and whatever, but I'm just like, Amryn was right there. So like I don't get it. And also the guy that's like the one that also is not now the love triangle with Azrael, what is his name? Lucian. I feel like he's bi, like just there's characters that you've already written in a way that this makes sense, and yet you just don't do it. Oh, Sarah J. Maas, you disappoint me constantly. So yeah, again, not the only problems that I've had with that series. However, the way she did those characters so dirty is upsetting. Oh, controversial question. What's your opinion on the whole hexing of the moon business? Okay, so if you're not in witchy metaphysical circles, you might not know this, but the rumor, I feel like I'm giving them energy and I don't even want to. However, I'm going to tell you because I think it's sort of funny. There was a rumor that a small coven of young witches, baby witches, new witches decided to hex the moon or hex the fae. No, they didn't. So there was a lot of uproar. It all kind of started on TikTok, but it wasn't really TikTokers that did it, but TikTokers heard about it and then got upset. And so they started making all this content about it. It eventually got onto like other witchy forums. It started being talked about on Reddit. It started being talked about on Twitter. It started being talked about on YouTube. I'm talking about it. I'm not even a witchy content producer, although I guess I am on my other channel. So I think what it was is a bunch of just like young people, like 12, who wanted attention and said they were going to do this thing, and everyone blew up about it and gave it so much attention. No one hexed the moon. No one hexed the fae. Number one, you just can't do that. Number two, if these things were real, like if there were moon gods and fae, I talk about this on my other channel more, so like I'm not going to go into it here. You can't, those would be very powerful things. You can't just hex with your baby witch powers. It's not like magic does not work like the same way it does on Charmed or Sabrina the Teenage Witch or in fantasy books. So they didn't do shit. What I think they did this to like basically troll people. And I think that they're potentially like energy vampires, which are not like real vampires, but are people that like suck the energy out of people that are like trolls online, people that want you to think about them and that like feeds their energy basically. People think that Trump's an energy vampire. Totally can see that. It's not like a mythical creature or anything. Don't worry. It's just like a, almost like the opposite of an empath kind of. They get off in this kind of like attention. So I think that's what it was. I hate that it happened because as somebody like even like new to the witchy world, it's been the topic of conversation. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone is like putting down like younger or inexperienced witches for it. A lot of people are like really railing against witchy TikTok, which like I've learned a lot from witchy TikTok. I mean, granted, I follow a lot of witchy TikTokers who are older and like do a lot of education and stuff. But like people are like, oh my god, TikTok's so stupid. And I'm like, was it like TikTok didn't do it? TikTok just heard about it. And then some people like freaked out on their pages about it when they shouldn't have. So yeah, I think it was very overblown. And now everyone's gonna be like, I mean, it'll basically be like, it was like Soapgate for us, you know, like anytime anyone talks anything, they'll be like, don't stick any soap in your orifices. People are gonna be like, don't hex the moon, you know, like that's gonna be a thing now forever, and I don't love it. Oh my god. The fact that she didn't let Manon from Throne of Glass be a lesbian is ridiculous. I'll never forgive her. Yeah, like I only read up to book 3 in that book, but still, like Manon is a lesbian, or at least bi, but mostly a lesbian. Like why? Like she makes these characters. It's like her and fucking BioWare, man. They make these characters who like would work perfectly as these like LGBT characters, and then they don't make it happen. Like, don't get me started on as far as like BioWare, Cassandra and Morrigan not being and Jack not being gay. Mm-mm, mm-mm. At least being bi. False. That is homophobic. That oh my god. Like I just like what I hate when like storytellers and producers and stuff make these characters that would work so well and that people like headcanon as these like identities, and then don't they make another character like gay or something. It's like why? Like that's fine, but like they were right there. They were right there. So it's fine. Oh, this is bringing me back. Sad about the slow burn angst I'm not going to get from an Azrael and Moore book. Same. Same. They were set up to be like so everything that I love. I'm not over it. I went back and watched like this was months ago, but I went back and watched an old video on like my favorite couples. I think it would have been like 2016, whenever that book came out, and they were on the list. Hmm. I am sad. I am sad. A lot of you are telling me to never read the novella, and I'm totally fine with that. And that she like focuses on baby stuff. No. Ick. Good point. People are going to get pissy and rail against anything coming from a space dominated by women, POC, and LGBTQ plus people. Yes. Yes. Ship Manon and lead so hard and forever be bitter about it. I didn't even get to the part where she comes in. I only met Manon and I ship it. Ugh. Can you recommend some of those TikTokers? So my favorite witchy TikTokers are Chaotic Witch Ant. I feel like she posts a mix of like memes and educational, but most of her stuff is educational. Cest, sorry, that was the ad. Cest Bonbon is another witchy TikToker that I really like. Something Roses, where is she? Luna Lunacy. Hi, baby. I follow Shadowwork Witch because she does shadowwork prompts. Hichiwan. So she's super smart. She's actually an atheist witch. So it's Hichaweon. Love her. Lunar Moon Witch is actually a Christian witch, but she doesn't really talk about her Christianity that much. Doe Knows Things. It's almost like a cottagecore witch. Ruby of Roses. She's a green witch. Love her. And then something that kind of overlaps is Astro Forecast, which is an astrology one. And is that it? That might be it. Yeah. Those are the ones that I like follow. And then some people like pop up on my feed a lot, like CDN or CND. I think it's CDN. CDN Players, I think. He's actually a like he's really Southern Baptist, but he doesn't talk about his Christianity. He talks about a lot of like voodoo and hoodoo because he grew up in those like adjacent to those cultures. And he talks about astrology a lot too. But I don't think, do I follow him? No, I do. I follow him. Those are the ones I follow the most. And then I just get a lot of witchy content on my feed. Oh my God. Bioware is like, we're so innovative for making butch characters straight. It is a crime. If they only did it like once, like fine. Like if Cassandra was the only one that they did that to, I'd be like, whatever. But like I am so angry, especially for like Jack in Mass Effect. Jack is canon bi. Like she references in her stories being with men and women. And then you can only romance her as a man. What? And you're gonna look me straight in the eyes and say that Morgan is straight? False. Like I could believe that maybe Cassandra is just sporty. Okay. But no, this history of just doing this, and they have plenty of really cool gay characters. Like I love Liara and like I love Dorian, and like cool. However, you're gonna sit. Morgan makes me probably like Morgan and Jack make me the most mad. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna tell me that those two man-hating women are straight. They are at least bi. Like they have the anger of a bi woman being like, I don't want to like men. I don't want to, and yet I am stuck liking them and thinking their cheekbones are cute. It's ridiculous. I get mad about liking that like basically every day, but they smell nice. Usually, sometimes they have those arm vein things. They can build things, so can women. Tally's trying to get out the door. Anyway, that's the kind of anger that radiates off of Morgan and Jack, and like they're gonna sit there and be like they're straight. Stupid. So stupid. Ugh. Man, every time I have to get up, get back down, get up, get back down. Okay. Did you ever watch Stardust? I haven't yet. It's on my Netflix queue, if it's still even on Netflix. But yeah, no, I haven't gotten to it yet. Because I don't watch stuff. I read, I play video games, I go on TikTok. Like that takes up all my time. Yes, that's kind of how I feel about Zoya from the Grishaverse. Her and Nikolai's relationship has grown on me a bit, but I really thought she had some interest in girls. Yes. I don't ship her and Nikolai, like at all. And I never have. And that's been a thing people have shipped since the Grisha trilogy, and I've been like, no. She gay. Like, just, oh, thank you, Nicole. How's the nail stuff going? I mean, so far so good. I'm still doing them myself. I plan on doing my nails until I have to go into an office, basically. So just keep doing them from home. It's a pain in the ass. Like the day that I have to do them, it takes like 3 hours of my own time. But like I'm at home. Like I'm at home, I'm working from home. I have the time to do it. It's one less risk I have to take. I might as well just keep doing them. Like no one's seeing them up close. You guys see them on video and that's it. So from and they don't look bad. Like they look really good. But like, up close you can tell like some of them aren't as like great, but I'm totally fine with doing them myself. Game suggestion if you still have access to PS3 or it could be on the store, I'm not sure. There's a game called Folklore that is peak aesthetic. My PS3 barely works. I have to like keep hitting my power button until it eventually turns on. So I'm trying to like chug through some of my PS4 games, but that does sound good. Oh. Wanted to thank you earlier in 2019. I started having anxiety attacks driving to work on a bridge. I messaged you and you gave me advice, helped a lot. This year my anxiety is not as bad. Yay! I've actually had a few people over the last couple of days be like, hey, you talking about anxiety has really helped me. And I'm like, perfect, because that's why I talk about it. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to mention it all the time, but like that's why I talk about it, because like I like suffered for so long with it because like no one talked about it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening to me. And like I didn't get help until I heard other people like really talk about it. So like yeah, that's pretty much why I do that. You guys are loving the rant. Yes. It's so annoying when people go, it'd be too stereotypical for this masculine butch woman to be LGBT. Like, yeah, okay, show me literally one canon female LGBT character who's butch and not a villain. Honestly, like, I just like if you're like, I mean, we need representation of like all kinds of characters, but don't like plainly write Jack or Morgan and then tell me that they're straight. No, it's just so I saw Jennifer Hale, who narrates FemShep, is going to be narrating Christopher Paolini's new science fiction book. I am also hype. I will absolutely be listening to it on audio. Absolutely. Like as soon as I saw that, I shrieked. Like it was just and like the synopsis. I think an eyelash just fell directly into my eye. The synopsis for that is so like that sounds like Mass Effect. I cannot wait to hear her voice. Like I'm so excited. I'll probably start crying. I love her. I love her. I suffer from insomnia and like listening to your old book reviews has sent me to sleep. Sorry if that's weird. That's not weird at all. I definitely have people. Sorry, I'm messing with my eye. I'm pretty sure there's something in my eye right now. Um, I have people that like are very soothing to me that I like watch before bed if I'm like a little anxious or like whatever. That just are really like my go-to person if I want to take a nap, but like listen to someone in the background is Lisa Eldridge. She is a really soothing beauty guru who's not even a beauty guru because she legitimately works in makeup. She's a professional makeup artist. Her accent and the way her cadence and the way she describes things is so soothing. And she also wears like rings that clink sometimes when she's doing stuff. It is like beauty ASMR. It is beautiful and I love it so much. Have you ever tried your mother's books? Like my mom's books that she reads. Have you ever tried reading her books? Because my mom just reads like Nora Roberts. She's actually reading the last like three books she's read are my books. So I gave her The Honeymooners, which she liked. She read Well Met, and then she is currently reading The Hating Game, which I didn't love, but like I owned it because she's like, I need some romance books, and I was like, I have some, but most of my romance books are on Kindle. So yeah, my mom doesn't really read books that I'd read. You guys are talking about Lisa Eldridge. Yeah, her red lipstick tip is great. Like she is the best like beauty guru for me. Like I love her so much. And like her and Samantha Ravendal are my two favorites for like I don't watch a ton of beauty gurus anymore. So like the only two that I watch. But for like education and like teaching, they're my two favorites and have been for years. They're yeah, I think they're the only two that I watch. Oh, I also watch Smoky Glow, but I really watch her for um her name's Hannah actually, but I watch her mostly for her like commentary videos. So yeah, the only two beauty gurus I still follow are Lisa and Samantha. My mom's like talking to the dog about something and I don't know what it is. Hannah is perfect. I love her so much. I also really appreciate that she's also a social worker. So like we have the same profession. She's gonna be in a totally different field than me though. I think she's gonna work with kids, and that's not what I want to like do. You know, for the rest of my career, pretty much, because I started out working with kids. So there's a dog out looking out the window in that car. But yeah, I love her. Do you watch any lesbian YouTubers? I don't, because I don't watch, like, it's funny, I watch more TikTok these days. I watch a lot of lesbian TikTokers. Like, and it's mostly because they show up on my feed. Like, I don't subscribe to a ton of them because a lot of them post thirst traps, and like, that's fine. But like, I'm not actually here for thirst traps. But like, I get a lot of lesbian content on my For You page. Are you interested in the Murderbot books? Yes, at some point. Not. I'm not in any rush to read them, but like, I think at some point, like if they're on sale on like Kindle, I'll probably pick them up or like do the audio or something. Like they do appeal to me. I just haven't gotten around to them. So, bye. I actually am probably going to head out here soon too because it's been about 2 hours, and that tends to be like a good. I know before I've done 4-hour long lives, but like I just don't need to do that. That doesn't need to happen. I will say, since we've been talking about like witchy stuff on this live, that my other channel, which is always linked in my description bar, has more witchy content, and I just filmed 3 videos on witchy stuff coming up, 2 book reviews, and then 1 on like my journey and like where I'm starting from, because I know a lot of you are new to it too. So if you're interested in that, check out that channel, because it's where I talk about that stuff. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna head out because it looks like I've caught up on the questions. So I think I'm good. I always like to make sure that I'm caught up on questions before I leave. So thank you guys for joining me. And yeah, I've been doing these lately, like once a week-ish, once every couple weeks. So I don't know how I'll be doing them when I start working, which is next week. So I'll have less time to just like be on this, because this is how I'll be doing my work. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you guys later. I hope you have